It's been interesting to watch the '94 crime bill be debated in this. I think in the case of Secretary Clinton, if you asked her, or people said, well, what's the biggest vote she regrets? I think people would say it's Iraq. I think she would say that. That's a sort of obvious answer to that. What is your answer to that question? What is the piece of legislation in the 40 years you've done this where you think to yourself, I got that one wrong?
Well, you know, Chris, it's hard. I've cast many, many thousands of votes, and there was one vote where it was almost unanimous in the House on deregulating derivatives and so forth. I should have voted the other way. I mean, like 4 people, you know, I have helped lead the effort against deregulation. That was a bad vote. But I'll tell you something. If I look back on my voting record, you know, Secretary Clinton, I don't need to be overly partisan here, supported DOMA in 1996. And that is the Defense of Marriage Act, which I think she has since apologized for. It was a homophobic piece of legislation. Back then, it was not easy to vote against that piece of legislation. All right? I voted against that piece of legislation. Back in the early 1990s, when all of corporate America and all the Republicans and many Democrats were pushing these disastrous trade agreements, NAFTA and later CAFTA and permanent noble trade relations with China, I didn't vote for any of them. I helped lead the opposition to them. So I'm not saying by any means that after thousands of votes, I did not cast bad votes. I did. But I will say that time and time again, I took on issues and cast votes that were unpopular at the time, but turned out years later, whether it's the vote against the war in Iraq, vote against trade agreements, voting against DOMA, voting against the first Gulf War. Those are votes that I cast. They were not popular votes. Those are the votes that I cast, and I'm proud of casting those votes.
We'll be back with much more with Senator Sanders.